Now the question comes, what is the requirement for BIM or any kind of BIM standards, and how it is going to help the students? Because you guys are the next generation who's going to work in this disruptive and revolutionized AC industry. And most of your faculties would also know there's a significant change that is happening in the industry right now. But then again, I'm talking about BIM a lot, and most of you would already know about BIM. Building information modeling, it is basically a process of managing and creating intelligent 3D, 4D, 5D models for a construction project across its life cycle, right? So the current trends in the industry should be an important part of any AC student's education. And it is crucial to become familiar with softwares and processes used in nowadays professional lives. So how it is going to help you is there is a higher chance of getting hired for internships and jobs. So by the Infrastructure and Planning Ministry, since it is backing up new trends in the construction industry, they made it possible for BIM be used in the new metro rail projects, most of the metro rail projects. And but still, it's in its youthful battle. But within 5 to 6 years, BIM is going to be a household name in India, just like it happened in UK. So there are a lot of things BIM is capable of. It helps you produce drawings more efficiently, allows you to access various visualization and analysis tools, and easy collaboration in group works, clash detection, less duplication of work. There are some of the things that save ton of times when you start working. I can tell the points like this, but you will understand this when you start working in any of the BIM softwares, or if you have already worked in it, you would know. So the next slide. See, the construction industry is urgently looking to attract new talent who are well versed with technology and have BIM skills and are comfortable using cloud applications. So BIM represents a new paradigm within AC. So one that encourages integration of the roles of all stakeholders on a project. And these are some of the projects we worked on. One of the prominent is FIFA World Cup Stadium in Qatar. The next slide. So now we have a very qualified person here to discuss the situation of the industry in depth and the subsequent technical aspect of our product and a little more about BIM. Madhav, over to you.
So we are an industry that has a huge amount of wastage in the productivity sense. If you are viewing the historical data, comparing with other 4 prominent industry verticals, such as starting from agriculture to transportation, we see that things have been progressing in a better direction. But for construction industry alone, when we talk about the productivity alone, from that particular single aspect alone, we see some stagnation and some negative trends. And needless to say, so all these figures are from not from a technological perspective, it's from a project management perspective. You need to understand that. So why, for example, because majority, about 3/4 of our projects are over budget, close to again 3/4 are behind schedule. So such kind of numbers are used for quantitative and qualitative assessment of the productivity. And one of the best examples, if you are not already aware of it, is the Sydney National Opera House. It's a beautiful building. It's a building that has, what shall I say, of international recognition, one of the most recognized buildings in the world, and still it's considered a project failure. So why? Because of the cost overshoot and the time overshoot. So close to 4 times, you can see that the plan and the actual was close to 4, and 14 is around 4 times, 7 and 102 is around 15 times the cost overshoot, and that is a huge. It's like not 10% variation is acceptable. More than 400% variation is gross mismanagement, and there are a lot of interesting case studies available on this particular project if anyone is wanting to understand the process in much detail. Then this is an interesting slide. It talks about a matrix of all the new technologies that the AEC industry is trying to adopt. When we quantify the impact and the likelihood, as in the impact, likelihood in the y-axis and the impact in the x-axis, we find that some would be very impactful, but the likelihood would be very low. or vice versa. It can be likelihood of such a technology is very high, but impact would be very less. And among all these things, there is something called integrated BIM that lies at a maximum impact and maximum likelihood of technological adoption. And why this is the case is something that hopefully this webinar will bring out. Again, we managing change is something that is very very difficult. And there is one country that has implemented standards, successfully implemented policies, and helped tide over a major, a small 10% of the industry at 2011 is using BIM, and in a matter of mere a decade. And for an industry, for a nation, it's a very small amount of period, right? So with the right goals, the right policies, a majority is now using BIM, and the minority, it's a mere 1% is actually unaware. The ignorance has come down a lot. So importance of meetings like this, importance of technological partners such as the industry experts such as IPMS, and collaborating with institutions, all such things in the longer picture is responsible for bridging off the gap. And that's what we are here for also. So that's another aspect. Finally, we actually touched upon having the open standards, having a close tie-up with Buildingspot International. So why is it important? For example, you have an information that is generated in a particular software. For example, the product we are representing is BEXEL Manager, right? So say for example, we generate some information. We are adding a 3D model, which is very expensive to manage. It needs a technical expertise for the right development. We are adding information such as time, schedule, the maintenance cycle, all into this. But imagine a building that has having a smallest building also has a lifespan of close to 50 years, and we are unable to extract this information. Say for example, at 40 years of the life cycle of a project or building, if somebody wants to use this information in some other platform, so interoperability becomes very key. And BEXEL is one of the building blocks of BEXEL is based on this interoperability, which is exactly like an open BIM standard. So how the communication needs to happen, how the processes can be standardized. And we are very proud for this particular association and this vision to have entire life cycle and productivity in place for developing such standards. So we spoke about why BIM is needed and what all are some of the components. So let's quickly talk about what BIM is. So any object, so in any construction project, imagine it as a lot of pieces coming together, right? You have bricks, you have columns, beams, light fixtures, pipe fittings, HVAC ducts. So it has got a lot of objects, each construction project. With BIM, what we're trying to do is that we're trying to digitally represent this, digitally capture this information and manage, add value to this information that we are capturing. And all the information that is coming from the AEC projects has got two types or two can be categorized as geometric information as well as functional information. So what exactly is a geometric information? With door as an example, we can say that physical properties like height, width, thickness, swing can be compared as the geometric information. Coming to functional information, things like material, a surface protection. These are some examples. Like even the door handle needs to be embedded into the system so that anyone using, so the architect is probably going to make a decision on this one, and the person at site also needs to have this information so that he ensures that the right information is plugged in at the construction stage. Even things like material cost associated with this, labor requirements, and the maintenance cycle. So this is a post-construction activities, and you will see that different information types becomes relevant, is added into the model at different point of time. So segregating the same information as and when the life cycle happens, how would that be? So we are trying to segregate the same functional informations based on a life cycle information. So for example, the initial 4 that you are seeing over here, the timber type and all, probably happens at a design stage using an authoring tool. Whereas coming to material cost, it would be a costing engineer. Talking about labor requirements, it would be a planning consultant. And maintenance cycle is a what shall I say, is an activity that it becomes relevant post construction. And you can see that all these informations are probably handled at by a design authoring tool. And the rest, this is again a tentative example for you to understand the process. These informations can be added by BIM management tool. So you take this information coming from the 3D model and add this information. And with BEXEL Manager, you are able to add another word over here, that's integrated, meaning that once you have a 3D model, be it the costing, be it the scheduling, be it the extraction of quantity, be it the post-construction activity, one single platform is capable of handling all this information and making our tool a very innovative and integrated platform. So we were speaking about the properties, and let's look at structure of the properties. What shall I say? This is a screen grab from our software platform, BEXEL Manager. So different type of categories. So the structure of each object in a project is like, there will be categories, there will be below which there will be multiple families, below which there will be multiple elements. So that's the hierarchy. So for example, air terminal would be a category, or door would be a category, under which there are different type of families. For example, a main door, or a double panel door, or a door that is opening to the right, opening to the left, all such kind of different categories. I'm just saying some examples can be there. So all these things would come under the families, and each of these would there will be 10 locations in the project that having this particular type of door, and so on, and such 10 locations would represent the elements. And for a particular family, the elements would be all would be common, and except for the geometric location of the properties object itself, everything would be same. And we can keep on adding anything that you can imagine can be added into the system, be it the finishes, the material framework, or any swing direction. Everything can be added to the system as and when required. Finally, another terminology that requires is that you can see in the previous thing that there are different categories coming from different teams, are developed by different teams. For example, a beam is information regarding all the beams in a building would be developed by a structural team. The air terminal probably will be developed by an MEP team, and so on. Like coming to ceilings, it would be an architectural team. So different teams collaborate to develop a project, right? And understandably, models from structural team would be there in a project, architectural models would be there, and even MEP, all the piping, MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So plugged together the veins of the building. So bringing all these things together, overlaying them, is what we call a federated model. And this model is halfway through. We have something with information, and there are a lot of life cycles associated with it. We need to add cost structure, we need to extract the quantities, we need to add the schedule in which this elements needs to be constructed, and finally we need to also check whether the inputs from different teams are satisfying to the agreed set standards. So all such processes, all such questions can be effectively tackled using BEXEL Manager. So these are all the things that BEXEL Manager is able to do. So this everyone will be very intuitively able to understand that this represents the design life cycle of any project, starting with, okay, there would be a concept stage with the client thinking about needing a project. But once that's done, the major steps are design, budgeting and tendering, construction planning, construction, the actual construction on site, and the post-construction activities of the operation and maintenance. In BEXEL Manager, we are able to handle many or most of the post-design activities. We are able to handle the design management activities, such as the quality of the input file, the extracting of the quantity, adding the 4D and 5D represents the time and cost aspects of the project in itself. It's an integrated. Once that information is added, we can check the progress. We can check if the actual progress is according with the plans and extract all such information in reporting. And finally, the 6D refers to, in BEXEL Manager's case, refers to the attachment of all the documentations, the warranties to the model, adding FM schedules, facility management schedules to the model, and all such associated activity. One second. Okay. So this is again some of the important informations of the ecosystem of BEXEL Manager, how it is handled. We start with the federated model. That is the, so any software platform or any coding for that matter has got an input, has got certain set of ways in which the input is managed, and there are certain set of outcomes or outputs, right? BEXEL Manager has got operates in a similar architecture. It has federated BIM model is the input that brings in a lot of information regarding the project that needs to be constructed. The templates are used for avoiding rework, more on that later. And the engines are related to primarily five types of activities we are able to do. That is checking of the clash detection is essentially checking of the geometry, and it's a quality check process. Then extraction of the quantities, like how many beams are there and what's the volume surface area, and all such questions are dealt with the QT or the quantity takeoff. Finally, adding the cost component, the schedule component, and schedule component talks about what is the sequence in which the project needs to progress. And finally, the progress in itself can be tracked, and all such things can be reported well within our system, can be reported and exported. The information can be exported to many other software platforms using a vibrant API, as in the coding. Language uses C# and it's very easy to pick up. There is an extended environment of BEXEL Manager that handles that's part of, this is a standalone version, as in it's every activity is within the system itself. This is for collaboration. This platform is for collaboration and management of data and adding facility component. We have certain databases and standards we adhere to, making our processes, streamlining our processes very easy. Like I said, since our basis is always going to be an input file, integration, communication with all the standard, what shall I say, authoring tools, be it Revit, be it ArchiCAD, and so on, via the standard formats, as well as some dedicated plugins are very much possible. Then there is the possibility of, again, extracting all the information we are developing within our engine into any other platform using the open BIM formats. And finally, we have the import and export, as in to non-BIM solutions such as be it Excel, be it Primavera, be it MS Project. So communicating with such kind of engines are possible. And finally, suppose a big client who has enterprise resource planning such as SAP for tackling the resources, projecting the need, the creating of invoices, all such data can be back and forth communicated between BEXEL Manager and other external ERP solutions. So this represents the entire workflow of BEXEL Manager in a single, the entire architecture. And let's look at some of the properties in detail. So the first thing we have, what is the first thing? First thing is input file in itself. We have an input file which is probably generated some authoring tool. First thing is the quality checks that we need to do to ensure that the given input is according to the standards that we have set at the initial stage. So first is resolving the geometric issues, such as Is a beam intersecting with a, what should I say, a beam intersecting with a pipe or a duct is clashing. So such kind of things that needs to be said are handled in clash detection, and there are 4 different type of clashes that can be handled, and it's very easy. That it's like you have rules, right? I need to check if all the structural elements and all the MEP elements are not intersecting. So that's a rule. And it's as easy as setting up this rule and clicking a button. The system, the engine automatically goes through these rules that we have set and find out the errors that are popping up, and we can communicate the same with the design team to fix these things. Next is, like I said, the BIM model has got geometric information as well as functional information, right? So that validation of the functional information is something that's very important. So it is like a beam at this particular, so there are different stages of design. So there can be a concept stage where things will be developed to a lesser extent, and there will be a issued for construction stage where things will be developed in a very extensive manner, right? So depending upon this, we will say that in the concept stage, if a beam has got width and depth, it's good enough, and we'll say that it has passed all the standards. In a issued for construction stage, probably would need the type of cement, the concrete, what shall I say, quality, then the reinforcement density and all other associated, and like the type of reinforcement and all other information associated. And this is can be checked in BEXEL Manager in a very customizable and easy manner. Like there is an Excel spreadsheet where it can be updated according to the need of any project, and that can be, as a click of a button, things are automatically checked. What took maybe a couple of weeks time can be done in a few seconds once you have the rules ready. And once you have that rules ready, importing that set of rules to any similar project is also very easy. That's where we say that templates are very important in BEXEL Manager, because it helps in avoiding rework. So you have done the traffic detection, you have done the functional checks, and essentially we can say that the quality of the BIM input file is where we want. Now we can start extracting information, adding information to the model. The first thing that we are able to handle in BEXEL Manager is quantity takeoff. It's nothing but segregating the objects of within the federated model into any value that we would like to extract, be it the volume, area, and so on, or reinforcement. What shall I say? It's as simple as segregating. This is a project that is close to 10,000 elements, and segregating according to our requirement and instructing the engine to display so and so quantities for all the elements. And depending upon the elements, for example, door definitely will not have a reinforcement. All the architectural elements for that matter will not have a reinforcement. So that would be missing. And depending upon the type of objects, segregation will happen. And best thing is that we are not, this database that you are seeing is not manually created. All you're doing is setting up precedence, and the segregation of data is an automatic process, and any change that happens to the system becomes the redistribution of information happens automatically. So that makes BEXEL Manager a rule-based workflow of BEXEL Manager and intelligence system. And you will see multiple areas where this rule-based system has been effectively utilized, and that is actually a very unique workflow of BEXEL Manager. So one of the key things is, 2 things if you ask me about BEXEL Manager, why I like it is, first, it is integrates the entire construction management activity in one single platform. Second, it has got many potential for automating things in a rule-based thing. So in a traditional approach, a cost consultant would sit for maybe a month's time to segregate the information and create value. And imagine a structural engineer going to the cost consultant and saying, dude, this has been changed, we need more 500 more columns or 20 more beams, and they are literally scratching their head saying that this involves a lot of change for us, please, it's a very painful process for us. But with BEXEL Manager, this change automation, once you set the rules, it becomes a very automatic thing. So we extracted the quantities. Now it's time to add the cost. Now it's time to add the schedule, sequence of activities. So cost, let us come at, because it is a bit more, understanding it requires a lot of hands-on approach. Only thing is that it is also for example, each line item of a cost structure. For example, we can say that like what is the cost of all the construction PCC activities for the substructure as in foundation? What is the cost for the RCC work for the substructure, and so on. We would be listing all the activities of the construction, right? And each of these line items are linked to a 3D element. So, for example, the 3D element automatically, like for the RCC work, for the what shall I say, the substructure is linked to all the substructural elements, and extraction of the quantity is automatically done. No, and all you need to instruct is the unit price of this quantity, and the multiplication and addition all happens automatically. So it's a very interesting process. Another very, very, very interesting USP of BEXEL Manager is the way in which scheduling is handled. So how does a schedule usually, so you have someone who's skilled in Microsoft project, or be it Primavera, and based on experience, based on we import the activities. So this is expected: first site preparation, then setting up of the site office, excavation, so on. Somebody will set, right? And it you need to understand that. Yeah. So this one particular concept, I'll take some time to go over. It's because it's a very innovative workflow. It's very unique to BEXEL Manager, and so usually we list all the scheduling activities, right? What with BEXEL Manager, the way we handle the scheduling is we set the hierarchy in using two terms. Basically, we capture the spatial distribution of the project as well as the work sequence. So spatial distribution of project, we are talking about how the project is distributed vertically. What the system to understand that from level 1 it would be, then level 2 would be constructed, level 3 will be constructed. So we just set up precedents like that. And coming to horizontal distribution of the project, it would be like building 1 needs to be constructed, then only will the building 2 will start, or similar rules. Coming to work, so that all such spatial arrangement of the project is captured in the zones, something called zones in BEXEL Manager. And in methodology, you have something called how this exact sequence of work needs to progress, for example. And it can also have different levels, meaning the foundation, then grade on slab, then columns and walls. And so that is the sequence of the work proceeding. And another level is is distributing, is understanding that for all the structural elements, the formwork would be first place, then the reinforcement would be placed, then the would be the actual pouring of the concrete, and finally the concrete finishing activity. So that sequence also we capture. We don't say in first construct column number 1 of this particular project. We just define the spatial organization of structure, and we define the work sequence of the project. And something like integration of both these things, like I refer to this methodology as the gears icon, and this one as the gray icon. So you have close to 5 hierarchy levels established here, and something like multiplying of these 5 things together, like saying that first precedence is for building 1, then building 2 over here, then these activities needs to be handled. For all these structural activities, this would be the sequence in which it would be proceeding, and these are like the geometric spatial distribution, again, like vertical and face wise. And once you instruct that, the schedule is automatically generated, and this video captures that particular thing. So we are setting the zones, the way in which, so this is a stadium that has been handled in BEXEL Manager. And so all we are doing is, once the rules are set, the template is where we set the hierarchy. We say that, okay, what is the hierarchy? And when clicking OK, what you see is that close to 16,500 line items are automatically created. And again, this is not, since it's not a manual process, changes in the 3D input file is automatically updated. And since it's a rule-based thing, creation of simulations that you are seeing currently at site on screen is a construction progress simulation is an automatic consequence of such rules. So that's also a very interesting workflow, and it has got both, it's not just aesthetic but practical relevance also. Like if there is a 2-second window in where no construction is activity, that immediately captures our attention, saying that okay, there is some optimization possible. If and again, what you're seeing on screen currently is whatever information we are generating in BEXEL Manager can be pushed into other what shall I say, other platforms. And this is one displaying information from BEXEL Manager in Power BI and creating interesting, engaging outputs. So with intelligent scheduling, location-based balancing or line of balance, location-based scheduling is a very innovative process. It can immediately, like the traditional Gantt chart is very much doable by many of the scheduling engines, but LOB becomes a very unique workflow that not many engines are able to handle. And immediately understanding where there are gaps in labor and gang and engagement, gaps in productivity, like this one particular space is probably, and immediately a planner can say that okay, some optimization, shifting of the activities is possible here, which is kind of very impossible from the traditional Gantt chart. And splitting of information in the traditional S curves, EVAs, histograms are all very possible with BEXEL Manager. Finally, progress tracking. So you have the schedule ready, and there are codes that segregates. I'll show you in. Yeah, there are codes that segregates this progress tracking into monthly groups of data. For example, month 1 has got construction of these many activities. Month 2 will be having construction of, has 5 groups of different elements. So that kind of segregation of data is happening in the click of a button. And once you have that, you click month 1, you visually see what all are things that are being constructed. The same can be pushed to site, extract information from the site team saying what all are ahead, what all are delayed, is the delayed activity lying in the critical path. All such information we will be able to track, and data-driven decision making is very much implementable. And we kept on talking about the last component as whatever information that is happening within BEXEL Manager, pushing of that, exchanging of that information with other stakeholders using a plethora of tools that are already used in the construction industry, be it Power BI, be it the traditional Microsoft Excel, be it BIM collaborative formats such as using Trimble Connect, be it using of standard functions or for file formats, be it the traditional PDF. Any information in all such formats are very much possible. And this is another simulation similar to 5D, 4D, 5D simulation. So 4D, 5D again is a rule-based simulation that automatically captures any changes, so making our system intelligent. So that's the definition we use for intelligence in BEXEL Manager. And you can see that the level of detail that needs to be discussed over here, the color coding can be set, construction activities, the delayed activities can be all given separate color coding, the completed activities can be understood, and anything that comes as a 3D input file, we are able to handle in BEXEL Manager. Another plus side is that definitely there are certain elements to scheduling that are never modern. For example, be it form work, be it the some excavation activities. So that also can be linked as non-BIM elements and created into very integrated well into the schedule. So this is a hospital project that has been carried out. The construction management of which was carried out in BEXEL Manager, and the final process, after adding of the cost, after adding of the schedule, the final simulation of the progress is what we have seen over here. So concluding side from my end is we have handles when we say that our technology represents the next gen of construction management. What we mean is that be it change management, as in one change in the input file gets automatically reflected across the life cycle of the project. Then changes on project budget and other scenario analysis is very much possible. Then be it the variation analysis, assessment, and disruption and claim management modules are very robust in BEXEL Manager. And finally, things we are getting the tools to engage the schedule and optimize it effectively and plan the workforces. Finally, archiving of different versions. So having changes the one common thing of all the design cycle in project, and handling all these versions, reviewing previous versions and information, and becomes very much easy within BEXEL Manager. So this one slide represents the entire thing that we do, and that concludes the technical part.